You're listening to the Devil Dog Talk Show.
This show contains explicit material and is recommended for ages 18 and older for mature audiences only. But hey, it's the internet.
Now, on the struggles, because, you know, the rough shit is kind of our forte here at the Devil Dog Talk Show. Now, the reason why I repeat that so much is because I think I'm a poster child for fucking up and being a little too open about that process of darkness sometimes. And, you know, I got a lot of criticisms and, informative opinions, right? And I love it because, you know, that helps me carve out a better way of not just hosting the show, but bringing different types of guests on and talking about different points. And we talked a lot about the transition of not only, well, in the military, of course, with your story, you know, going through so many different positions in the military, so many different types of educational paths, but also different communities that sometimes have a little bit more of a gatekeeping than others, and sometimes don't realize the value of the individual themselves. With that said, if we were going to refocus the conversation, right, the Devil Dog Talk Show here, I like talking about the darkness, okay? I like bringing to light those things that a lot of people kind of skim over or don't want to acknowledge, or maybe even like say, oh no, PTSD, oh no, shut the fuck up. You know, suicide rates, oh my God, shut up. Unless you're saying 22 a day, I'm doing push-ups, like, no, don't talk about it. It's like, no, dude, homeless rate, no, shut the fuck up. Like, it's a problem, but I get it. Like, people who hear negative things feel negative about it, and they assume that the process forward is negative. And I go, no, actually, in fact, talking about negative things I've learned through our new gimmick. I'm not going to say gimmick, but our new logo / metaphor here. It's called the Paul Krebs cycle. Okay. And also applying therapies daily. And I know I say it a lot, but here's the good talking point. If you find the darkness, right, whatever that may be, it could be that you feel as though, you know, you don't want to continue on with whatever is going on in life, that you are the burden towards others, all these negative self-talking points, right? Well, one, you can talk to yourself a different way and derive what that value is. Like we were talking about the core morals and values of self and identity and transitioning through all these different progressional points of life where, you know, you're learning and you're trying and you're failing, and then you're learning and you're trying and you're failing, and then you're learning and you're trying and then you succeed. Well, that's called life. I hate to call it that, but you know, you're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days. But the tools that I've learned is applying this Paul Krebs cycle. He hates it when I say that, but I love it. Applying the Paul Krebs cycle, I throw his name out there a billion times. He's like, you need to stop that. I'm like, no. Because he taught me that core value of ATP, right? So the Krebs cycle in school, I learned, was, you know, the process of how a cell makes energy. ATP, it's called the Krebs cycle. So all I did was add Paul, and that's my psychologist. I love him. So I say Paul Krebs cycle because I need to get energy. I need to get that gold nugget out of the fuckery that I'm in. Okay, whatever it is, if it's self-doubt, self-negative talk, if it's me being pessimistic, if it's me not attempting new things because of my cycle and stuck point. So we can sit there and should all over ourselves, right? I should have retired. I should have went to this school instead of that school. I should have tried better on that. I should have stopped drinking, but I didn't. You know, whatever it may be, we should all over ourselves, and we sit in that should, and we're just like nasty little should monsters, and that's not cool. So the tools I learned within the Paul Krebs cycle is, what is the core value? Why are you shooting all over yourself? Well, because you're taking responsibility for yourself. Now, and this was a talking point I was bringing up during the checkup from the neck up. If you're not asking yourself these questions, like, why am I not trying harder? Could I be trying harder? I want to be better. I want to get this top-notch piece of equipment. I can't afford to, you know, invest heavily in a piece of shit, you know, like myself, right? All of those complicated emotions, those things are actually screaming at you that you're a good person, right? One of these memes or really thingies on Instagram I saw the other day, a lady goes, if you're really wondering if you're a good parent or not, stop. Because if you're asking yourself that, you're a good parent. Shit parents don't ask themselves that. Okay?
Yes.
It's so true. It's such a simple allegorical way of just simplifying life and saying, you know what? if we're not internalizing existence and trying to perform or be better than we were the next day, then yeah, you might be a shitty person. But if you are, and you're asking yourself these questions and you're trying better and you're like, fuck, I fucked up and about what I want to be better. You know, I don't want Dust to be like, hey bro, you couldn't even figure out the fucking Apple key. You know, like, I got it, boss. I got it. It's an Apple command and Apple, the same key. I got this. We're good. Right. We that's who we are instinctively in our identity as a community of veterans and service members. Like I was saying again in the checkup from the neck up, it's very true, and it's beholding to that idea and identity of service. You brought it up a lot. You said, I wanted to continue serving. And I want to hit that a little bit more, because as you're working with bullets and bandaids.org, you're bringing other people's stories and you're bringing it to the public, and the public can react in any which way that they do with stories. As you know, by reading anything in the papers or news lately, you can literally say one thing and have it turned into 45 different views. If it's going to be mainstream media, it's going to be 2 to 3 different views and then published on every single outlet that those people who own those media groups say, because they're in control. It's kind of like our show here. I'm in control. I got to say, hey, it's okay as long as you understand the stream of shit you're putting into your ears, eyes, and throat is negative. Okay? Like as long as you know the food you're eating is going to get you fucking fat, and you're not sitting there asking yourself, how the fuck did I get so fat? Well, Joey, it was because you drank 12 packs of Coca-Cola there, boss, like in a month. Like, I'm not saying that's a lot. I'm just saying it's a lot for you. That's a lot of sugar, you fat fuck. Maybe not drink so many goddamn Coca-Colas.
You're double fisting bacon cheeseburgers every day. Like, that's how you got there. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and they were so delicious. And the tears that made them extra salty on the fries, let me just tell you. Oh,
bacon is my only friend. Like,
you're the only friend I get to dip in ketchup and suck on for a while. Like, it's like French fries. Oh, I love it. But you know
that's
what?
a nightmare visual. Okay.
It is. Just imagine a fucking grown-ass man, 275 pounds, sticking his fucking ketchup packets into his belly button, shoving goddamn French fries in and out of it, going, oh, why am I like this?
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Not really. Come on. I'm not saying that that's not, somebody's life, but it's not mine. This is that creative.
That's the beauty of podcasting. Yeah. That's the beauty of podcasting. You can look like that right now, and I wouldn't know. Like, because
would know. I have a face for radio, but you don't know that I'm stunningly handsome. But to move forward on that, dude, trying to figure out the pathway to grace, right? And that's what I call it. It's grace. Like when you're in the shit and you were probably transitioning from one place to the other, you had to find something that worked for you and your family, right? And that's the grace point, where you're at, where your family can enjoy you and be a part of you and the work and the progress that you're doing at a radio station. That's what I call grace, right? Because the shit doesn't go away. Your kid's going to walk up to you and be like, Daddy, I shit my pants. It happens, right? So shit's still going to happen. But it's a matter of having a foothold and anchoring and launching from those points that make us able as a society and as a community, okay? As veterans, as brothers and sisters, or zim zimsters, or however the fuck that works. I don't know, so don't hate me, educate me. We have a choice, and in that choice, bringing out creative sides like you have yourself, going from all the different lessons learned and those tool sets acquired to be able to be where you're at and create something that provides an outsource for people. I love it, because for me, that's what I do. And from one person to another, I'm here to help. Like that's what I can say and offer. I always want to say that, especially to our guests that love, audio engineering, because there's so much to learn. There's so much different ways to get a product out that regardless of what you're saying, okay, people will digest it, but they'll be like, wow, that really sounded good, or not. It just sounded of quality. So the professional standpoint isn't in question. I've heard a lot of podcasts, good and bad, where I'd pray. Like I sit back and I pray. I go, man, I wish this guy would just get a decent microphone because he's actually spitting facts, right? Or no bullshit. Like I had to turn it off because it just kept clipping, and I'm like, buddy, but he's got a good point within the first 5 minutes. And a lot of the conversation points too, it's like, well, maybe we don't have enough money to put in, $100 million or $1 million into a studio. Well, that's fine. The basics, right? Keeping true to the basics has always been a concept that, my father taught me, my wrestling coach taught me, my captain taught me when I was an NJ, and a lot of my master chiefs and everybody and officers actually that I bonded well with in the military taught me. If you can keep to the basics and you can do that well, you can do good in any field. But a lot of us, we get stuck on these, conversation points of identity, where am I going, what am I doing, and how am I going to get this done? And that burden becomes so heavy because the basics are shut the fuck up, left, right, right? Well, no, it's not. It's actually communicate, shoot, and move, right? And that's a lot of good aspects to think of too. And for corpsmen, it's scene safety. Is it safe? I'm not running into a scene and going, I'm going to save some lives and catch some 7.62 to the head. It's not good. Not going to help anybody. But if you're going with the basics, decap, BTLS, let me get my shit right. All right, cool. ABCs, HABCs. All right, cool, bro. We got them into the CCP. We're saying WPs and all these acronyms. We'll do the same shit. We can do the same shit to life. We can be like, man, it's morning. Okay, so we got the M. All right, now what? Stuck point. But that's all right. That's everybody's. It's everybody's life. You can wake up and make a decision and choose differently, right? If you're going through some shit with your spouse, you can A, drink yourself to death. You can B, snort some fentanyls or whatever. Or you can C, I don't know, maybe talk to the person that you're fucking with, be like, hey, I got some shit on my chest. And then they'll probably be like, yo, I got some shit on my chest too. Yeah. So
it's that old thing, like ask a stupid question. Because you don't know how many other people have that same fucking question.
That is so true.
But they're too scared to ask it. And then you realize, like, once you ask the first stupid question and then that initial embarrassment goes away, then everybody starts asking other little questions because
they're thinking the same shit. Yeah.
Yeah, they're thinking the same shit, and they realize, like, oh, that's not a dumb question because I'm not the only one. And then you just open the floodgates, and then everybody starts exchanging ideas and stuff.
And that's the gorgeous thing about creativity.
That's one of the things. So that's kind of why when I got out of the Navy and went into the Marines, that's kind of why I chose combat correspondent as my job. Because, well, one, they wouldn't let me do anything fun, right? Because I showed up, corpsman, combat experience, all this crazy stuff, deployments to Afghanistan and whatnot. And then I show up, and the way I got into the Marine Corps was open contract, ground option.
Oh,
and so,
okay.
Yeah, I told the recruiter, I was like, I will sign whatever you need me to sign just so I can get back into the military and keep serving. And he was like, this is the issue you run into. Like, because your prior service, you cannot delayed entry. Because, like sometimes like kids coming out of high school, they can do like delayed entry where like, oh, I'm going to graduate. I'll sign the papers while I'm still in school, but I won't leave and go to boot camp until after I graduate or whatever. Right. Yeah. That's not an option for me when I'm coming out of the Navy and stuff. So I have to leave that day. I sign the papers for whatever's available. And so we were trying to find me a job, and there was just nothing, because I tried to go counter intel. I tried to do a couple other things before I landed on combat correspondent, and nothing was available. And he was like, look, bro, he's like, if you are hell bent on joining, I can get you on the bus tonight, but you're going to have to go in basically open fucking contract. And I'm like, you know what? Whatever. Let's do it. Like, I don't care. And so I called my mom. Yeah, I called my mom and I was like, hey, I'm going to be home in a little bit to drop my car off. And then I'm leaving again. And I won't be back. And she's like, what do you mean you won't be back? And I was like, I'm signing papers to join the Marines. Like, I hadn't even told my parents any of this.
Wow.
And she's like, you're doing what? And I'm like, yeah, about that. I did a little soul searching on terminal leave. I'm not ready to stop. I'm going back in. And she's dealing with because she knows what I was in Afghanistan, like I was up in the Hindu Kush region, like the same area where Morgan Luttrell, or Marcus Luttrell.
Yeah, Marcus is
brothers.
They're twins. Marcus, I mean, you couldn't have fucked it up.
Marcus is lone survivor. Yeah. Morgan, I live in Texas. Morgan is my district representative, so I get him. I'm constantly back and forth with him. Marcus Luttrell, when he has his whole lone survivor situation, I was in like the same area, but like a year or two prior to when he happened. So like we were in friggin' Indian country out there getting rocketed and shot at, and I drove over IEDs and all kinds of stuff.
Just an absolute shit show.
Yeah, and that was me as a medic. And now I'm dropping it on my mom that I'm going back into the Marines. And like, she's just, she goes from 0 to 100, like, well, this is how you die. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
God,
you know, like that's basically like her
death sentence.
Yeah, like she basically, and I tell my dad too, I'm like, hey man, like if you try and call me, I'm gonna be gone because I'm going in the Marines. And he's like, what do you mean you're going to the Marines? Like, you did your time. You don't need to go back into it. And then they were not happy.
I bet, dude. You know, but for a lot of families, that's how they feel, you know?
Yeah. And I was like, I have to do this. Like, it's not that I want to do this. Like, I have to do this. Like, there's underlying reasons I gotta go.
So saying you have to do that, right? Where does that primal knowledge come from? So I find that too, like I have to be a good father, I have to be a good husband, right? That primal drive, right? It's just this animalistic need. Like I even noticed it, like I'll be drinking beer and I'm like, man, this beer is so delicious, but I have to put the shit down now and still be a father. I have to close up shop, close up the garage, make sure the dogs are inside. I can't go beyond a certain limit. And I know that sounds like a fucking alcoholic, but I'm like, no, it's called functioning alcohol. Oh my God.
It's called knowing your limits.
Right. And as I'm getting older, I noticed that maturity wise, I've noticed not only my limits, but the ones that I care for. Right. So I always want to ask that, like, what is that drive? What is telling you have to? Is it you? Is it God? Is it your higher power? Is it, the experience of doubt? I talked to Doc Todd about this as well, because he was up in Afghanistan. I was in Iraq. Completely different AO, but kind of the same, hazardous shits going on.
Same shit, different smell.
Different. Same, different. It's like,
yeah.
But so where did that come from?
So it's actually, it was a weird, like, transition from, so like I said, I was in Afghanistan with the Marines. These dudes are relying on me to take care of them. Like, I'm in the shit with them. I'm in the same vehicle when we're hitting IEDs. Like, I'm patching them up afterwards. Like, I'm doing all this stuff. And then we're sitting, and a couple of my guys on a different fob in the area are on patrol, and they're actually going up to an observation point outside of their fob.
Now, what year was this? Just so I can.
This is in 2004.
Okay.
And so they're going to a different thing and are walking up to their observation point for their shift up there, and get all the way up to the top. And one of the dudes realizes, like, he doesn't have his NVGs.
That's no good.
And they're like, fuck, right? So the dudes that are up there, they're like, you guys got to stay. We got to go find these NVGs. So they go all the way back down the mountain, back down to the fob. Don't see the NVGs anywhere. They get back in the base, looking around, can't find them. And then it's getting to the point where it's like, well, we got to get up there because these fucking dudes on the hill have been up there for like 8 days or some shit at this point. Like, they need to be relieved. We can't leave them up there any longer. So they turn around and go back up the mountain. Well, on their way back up the mountain, they run into a group of like 15-ish enemy fighters that are like digging in IEDs and stuff for a army patrol that was on the way back. And so these 3 Marines stumble into like 15 dudes, and all fucking hell breaks loose, right? And 2 of them end up getting killed on the side of the mountain. One of them gets like severely injured and whatnot. And before like QRF can get there, and then they've got to call in medevacs and all this kind of stuff. And these are dudes that I was giving them shots back in Camp Lejeune, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on the side of a hill at a different OP because I'm attached to a different group at that moment. And I'm just listening over the radio as they get like absolutely destroyed. And it was one of those things like, we're mid-deployment. Like, we don't have time to dwell on this. But I'm not a Marine. Like, I'm a corpsman. Like, I have vested, like, interest in these guys. You know what I mean? Just because it's a different, like, I'm not saying that, like, the other Marines don't have vested interest in them. You know what I mean? But it's, like, the difference between, like, my squad mate is my brother, is my, you know, best friend. And then a corpsman, like, that's my child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because I've been responsible for every aspect of his health and well-being for the last couple of years. Like, I'm the one he came to when he was sick. I'm the one giving him shots. I'm the one making sure his med record is up to date. I'm the one giving him his pre and post deployment screenings. If they've got mental health issues that they're trying to work through, they don't go ask some random person. They come to their platoon corpsman and say, "Doc, I need to talk to somebody."
Yeah, their family. You know? They bring their family to you.
And this, they're my kids, man. Like, if somebody's trying to mess with any of my Marines, like, if another corpsman came up and tried to give one of my Marines a shot, I would beat the fuck out of them. You know, especially if they tried to do it without clearing it with me first.
Yeah, why you double dosing my boy, ya boy?
Yeah, like get away from my fucking Marine. Like, that's my Marine, you know? And so to sit on the side of the hill and listen to them basically get executed, for lack of better terms, just broke something inside of me. You know what I mean? Like, that was like, because you also have to think about, I went in the Navy when I was 17. Jeez. Like, I graduated high school at 17. I was at Navy boot camp when I was 17. I turned 18 in Navy boot camp. I turned 20 in Afghanistan the first time. And, you know, so like, I was in it.
Yeah, that was your upbringing.
To be a 21-year-old kid at this point, not even really officially able to drink back home, and to be responsible for so much, for so many people. And then to have a situation like that happen where you literally listen to the person that you care about get executed on the side of this mountain, and there's nothing you can do to help them. You're like, even if you were there's probably nothing that you could do to help them because of the situation.
You'd just probably have added to the list. Added on. Yeah, like it would have been 3 + 1 instead of 2 + 1. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And so I'm struggle busting. But again, we're in the middle of deployment, so you just have to bottle it up and move on, right?
Shove it in there. Just shove it down.
Yeah, just shove it down in the sea bag and tie it off, and don't fucking talk about it because we don't have time.
Like the Chevelle song, "Send the Pain Below."
And then who am I going to talk to? Because I'm the one that everyone else in the platoon is coming to talk to about shit like that. Like, there's nobody that I turn around and then can go and talk to.
See, and you bring that point up. Yeah, no, to bring that point up is very important. I talked to a gentleman, Brady Pasola, and we talked about Marcus Aurelius and the whole concept of Stoicism. And you're, like you were saying, you're in a leadership role, but it's a non-titled leader. It is titled. You're called the corpsman. You're called Doc, right? Kind of the premise of your whole.
That's the thing that they tell you. Yeah, that's the thing they tell you. Like, when you become a platoon corpsman, like, I was E2, E3. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not high on the totem pole of people that are responsible for shit. But and like I said, I'm in my late teens, early 20s. I'm responsible for the health and safety of 40 other grown men, and they're all leaning on me. And half of them are older than I am. You know what I mean? Like, and then to turn around and be put in that situation, and then you just have to bottle. Not only are you bottling up your shit, but you're like the gatekeeper for everyone else's bottles. And you turn around and now you just have a whole collection of little things that you're just slowly getting stacked on top of you, and you don't have any way to, like, there's nobody I could go to. I can't go to my staff sergeant and be like, yo, staff sergeant, I'm having some rough times, because he's going to be like, I don't care, doc. Like, I have shit going on. Like, get out of my fucking office. You know what I mean? Like, but that's the thing, being a doc, like, I'm only E2, E3, but the responsibility level put on me is that of, like, you know, like a staff sergeant, a gunny, because I'm it. Like, I am the person. So everyone's coming to me. Everyone is doing all this stuff, you know, and I need to annotate it, keep track of it, make sure, you know, PFC Jones has got his flu shot, and make sure the whole platoon gets their smallpox vaccines.
Make sure they're changing their socks, staying hydrated, all the good shit.
Exactly. You're on a hike, you're on a hump, training hike and stuff like that. Everybody takes their little 3-minute water break where they get to sit down. Doc doesn't get to sit down. Doc has to keep going up and down the line, making sure people are changing their socks and they don't have blisters and all that kind of shit. You know, so you don't have time to, like, slow down and mess with stuff.
Not at all. Because then it adds to your workload. You know, see, that's the one thing the preventive medicine techs I hate and loved was, one, I hated when they were like, no, we got to do mosquito fucking testing all day long. I'm like, bitch, you're just driving around eating fucking hamburgers. But, you know, like, don't get me wrong, it's still an important role, right? You don't want a base to be overcome with the West Nile virus, but, you know, how rare is that? But also, you have a role to preemptively, like, one of the best primitive, fuck, what was the word I was just using? Fuck.
Words are hard.
Yeah, no.
Broadcasting.
Yeah. But so the best way you can prevent something, there you go, preventative med techs. The best preventative medicine, I can't believe how retarded I am. The best preventative medicine is a good offense sometimes, right? And the way that usually Marines will say is, yeah, shoot first. No, sometimes it's understanding to spread the load, making sure everybody has their little IV football, or, you know, spreading some medical equipment, make sure everybody's tourniquets are renewed, you know, and there's no sun damage. Like, there's a lot of these mommy roll type of tidbits that come up. Are we using the appropriate sunscreen? You know, why is it important to have sunscreen? Because if you don't build up a base, you're fucked.
Did we drink water last night? Because we know we've got this operation today.
Of course.
Like,
yeah, tons of water. Just happened to
do we have everything packed?
It,
Do we have this? Do we have that? Does everybody? Yeah, exactly. And a constant checklist. But if you ask Marines, what's Doc doing? I don't know. He's probably sitting in the BS jerking himself off. Like,
yeah, or sitting in the Humvee. You're like, you're not wrong.
Yeah. He's in the safety Vic. He's on his phone in the safety Vic.
Why is Doc's lips always stuffed to the brim with chew? I don't know, man. Maybe don't ask questions about what's in my canteen ever. Also, because it's a rum and coke. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I saw a comic strip one time about Corpsman, and it said it had a Marine and he was hurt and he like fell down or something like that. And the Corpsman comes running up and he's like, all right, I need a litter, I need two things of rope, I need an IV, and I need a comic book. And like the Marines are all like running off to get the stuff, and like one of them's like, what do you need a comic book for? And he's like, well, I gotta have something to read while you drag him up out of that hole.
It's true.
I can't do nothing for him until he gets up here. Like, you know, so
sometimes
that was kind of my mentality. Like, yeah, if I have to do my job, that means you guys fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, don't fuck up and make me have to do my job. You know?
And that was the best mentality. I remember that vividly. That's the best mentality to have. Don't make me work hard, because it's a bad situation no matter what. Now,
I early on found a quote that kind of stuck with me, even like today. Like it said, a corpsman's job is to sit in obscurity until the time comes, and then when that time comes, he is to give it all he has, or it's something along those lines. I'm sure I'm butchering it.
No, but you're like the ringer.
Yeah, that's like the perfect thing. Like, I'm going to sit here in the shadows and nobody's going to really know my name or what I do all day long until fucking, we hit an IED and half the truck is bleeding out. And now all of a sudden I fucking show up and you're like, oh shit, he really does know what he's doing. You know,
You're bleeding out going, what's happening? Oh, hey, this dude does know his job. Look at, I still have my leg.
Maybe we'll ease up on him, calling him, you know, with the gay jokes or whatever it is, you know, for the thing of the week, you know. Oh, you're in the Navy, couldn't hack it in the Marines. Like, okay, buddy, step on a landmine and see whether or not, like, you know.
Oh my God. Speaking of the gay jokes nowadays, have you seen the recruitment attempts in the Navy lately?
Honestly, like, I've seen it and I
love the long
let
pause.
it go. I let it go,
that,
man.
No, that was
you know
too
what?
much of a long pause, dude. That was, you said, I've seen, like, whoa, you thought about those words. Somebody doesn't want to get canceled.
My grandfather was in the Navy. My dad was in the Navy. I was in the Navy. You know, my dad's Navy was not the Navy that I went into. And the Navy that I went into is not the Navy that these kids are going into nowadays. So you just kind of accept the cycle. Doesn't mean I got to, you know, be happy about it. But
I think, like,
but then
no,
again,
but honestly,
it also doesn't affect me anymore because I'm out. And if it was a thing where I needed to be worried about it, they wouldn't have forced me out for non-promotion back in the day. Like,
I don't know, dude. Sometimes I feel like I've seen a lot of people get advanced where, you know, these kids were just good at tests. You know, you tell them to work on a patient or actually do the job. See, that was the thing too. I really noticed
book smart and street smart. Yep.
Yeah.
The difference between book smart and street smart. And I know exactly what you're talking about because, we're going to advance you based off of this 7,500 question, multi-question deal, multi-choice quiz and whatnot. And if you don't get like the top 2% of scores on this thing, like you don't get advanced. But then you take that kid who got promoted to petty officer and you put him out on the line, and now you have a screaming, writhing Marine with half his leg missing, and they lock up. I have no clue what they're doing.
Yeah, they turn into just an extra body, and you're like, bruh, like you're supposed to be leadership here, boss.
Yeah, you get out of the fucking way and let the real corpsman come through. Like, my guys, like, because I got passed over for promotion a couple of times when I was with the Marines and whatnot, and my guys were like, they're like, who cares, doc? Like, fuck it. You're like, you're not going to change anything. Like, you're still our doc, one. And two, if you get promoted, that just means you get to go hang out in the BAS all day because that's where all the petty officers hang out. And you don't get to do the cool shit. And I'm like, yeah, you got a point. Like, you know what I mean?
It's true, dude.
I don't want to go sit inside. Like, I'll just keep failing my exam by just enough not to get like negatively counseled and keep coming out here and hanging out with you guys, you know.
I like you guys, so I'm gonna ruin myself. But no, it happened, I think, a lot more often than not. I saw it, you know, coming up, guys or girls too, you know, picking up rank where, you know, I worked in so many different aspects of being a corpsman that I got to see a tremendous amount of just difference. Like being in a hospital was different, working in a research center was different, being a lab tech was different, working with aviation, you know, all of these different groups, deploying, you know, with the MLG, being on FRSS, STP, you know, all of these different experiences build different knowledge. But the one thing I noticed is the upper tier of leadership. And I mean this, and I'm not being bitter. I'm not trying to say the Navy doesn't know any better. You know, the Marine Corps doesn't know any better, but they have the worst way of investing in the things that are long-term. And that's the only way that
terrible.
It's just fucking horrible. I mean, look at the way they do their budget. All right. Every year they, you know, scrimp. And as soon as October's coming up, between August and October, everybody spends every fucking dime so we don't lose any money. And I'm like, well, if you would just spend your money right, idiots, like you could actually double down on the things that are working, right? So the research that I was in, I learned a lot. And this was kind of like molded my view towards what happened during the lockdowns and with COVID and all the bullshit was I remember the swine flu. Do you remember the swine flu? You remember that shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a big deal? Kind of. Was the bird flu a big deal? There was big deals, right? But the way we overreact to things because we're heavily invested in the upper administration or the upper leadership, and somebody wants to get a bullet point or a star on their anchor, and they have this great idea of diversity training and all this great stuff. I'm not saying it's bad. All I'm saying is stopping the bleeding and starting the breathing is a lot more important about whether or not they have a penis or a vagina between their legs. Okay, boss, like let me or whether or not they're confused about what's between their legs. I don't care. All right, me, if you can shoot and look good like RuPaul, fucking awesome. Okay, RuPaul, look good. Okay, God damn.
Can you do the job to the standard? And is it going to affect me in any way with your bullshit? Like, if it's not going to affect me and you can pull your weight and do your job, I don't care. At the end of the day, the job's getting done. Like, what you do in your own time doesn't affect me. If it starts to affect me, then I have a problem. You know what I mean? Like, but other than that, like, let people be people, man. Like,
yeah, I think it's
cool. Do I think that standards should be held to a certain thing, especially for the military? Yes. I think that all of the societal shit that goes on that they try and interject into the military and use the military as some sort of fucking grand experiment guinea pigs on societal issues.
Yeah, society has always done that, but yeah.
I think that's bullshit. You know what I mean? But yeah, then you look at it, the military is made up of a cross-section of society. So society issues are going to transfer over into the population that is in the military. But do I think that we should be forcing it into those situations? No, I don't. I think if it happens generically, then whatever. But don't force the things. Don't use it as a recruiting tool, because all you do when you do that, like they're doing, is you alienate the other demographics of things. Like, yes, you're saying like we're inclusive and this is how we're inclusive and all this stuff, but you're also, at the same time that you're trying to include others, you alienate others.
Exactly.
And it's ridiculous. I don't know. That's my opinion.
No, I agree completely with you. That's the thing. It's like, I have tons of opinions and none of them go over well. And my testing model is my 20 some odd year old sister who just graduated from college. And I'll sit there and I'm
not pass the focus group.
No, I would not. They would never let me in the room. I would fuck their statistics all the way up. They'd be like, well, we were going to move forward on this idea, but this guy, he came into the room and just blew it out of the water. After he spoke, I was like, maybe this isn't a good idea. And I'm like, it's one of those things. Like, I tell my sister, and I love fucking with her. Like, that's my favorite thing. There's this Miley Cyrus, I think that's her name. Yeah. A thing going around on the internet where her voice is like deteriorated to the point where she sounds like a
she's
droid.
Like all gravelly.
Yeah, they have the journey.
And I'm like,
holy, a lot of times the journey.
Yeah. And I go, look, bro, like, I remember when this little girl sounded like an angel, and here we are in fucking 2023. We can't even decide whether or what's not in between what's legs or whose legs. We can't say things like, in God we trust.
You can't define what a woman is.
You can't. But what you can do is you can destroy people to the point where their voice starts sounding like a fucking thing. And I love every single one of them. I send to my sister and I go, hey, what's going on with Miley?
It's the grand circus. We keep the masses entertained with lions and gladiators.
Give them bread and entertainment, right?
Yeah. Give them circus, give them drink, keep them entertained, and they don't notice what's going on in the background.
That is so true. But I think people are noticing because it's really difficult. Everything is in everybody's face, right? And I mean it. Even dicks are in people's faces, and people are like, well, it's not a dick. It's just my female penis. I'm like, what? Yeah. What did you say? It's my female penis. Or do you mean enlarged clitoris? Because that's real. But female penis, I don't never heard of balls and testicles. I've never heard that be a female. And it's triggering to people. And I go, why? Like,
and the thing is it's been happening. It's been happening for years. No one cared.
Nobody
cared what any of this stuff until people are getting it front and center, like jammed down their throats against their will.
Yeah.
And now now people have opinions because you're forcing it upon them. You're forcing it into their homes through different media outlets and channels and stuff like that. You're forcing it into the news narrative and whatnot. So yeah, people are going to see it now more than they used to. People within the invention of internet and technology and smartphones in everybody's pocket and all that stuff, like everybody can get any sort of information they need at any point now. So you're connecting with a much, much larger audience.
And I think
instantly.
the difficult thing is not just that how vastly wide the information is that there's people benefiting from negative concepts of truths, right? I'm not going to say disinformation or misinformation because I don't have dictatorial processing over anybody. But discernment.
Well, it's the gullibility factor of the average person.
Exactly. We don't have any discernment of what the naivety and the gullibility and, just straight up ignorance. Like, I learned a lot from a lot of people that I have on the show, right? Where I humble myself and I'll straight up be like, bro, I don't know the first fucking thing about equity. I don't know what it feels like to be an African American or black person, however you identify, that went into the prison system, and now cannabis is 100% open, and there's a lot of people benefiting from it, but you're still serving a goddamn life sentence for a joint, that you had in the 70s. It's like, that's a little bit. I agree with that, but also, hey, why don't we discuss that openly? Why don't we, like we were talking about, all the different veteran issues, right? Why don't we discuss about how a legacy of veterans look at the promotion of not only transgenderism, but drag queen and uniform and say, hey, I'm not saying we're missing the mark, right? This guy in the fucking, the breakdown psychology buff.
What does it have to do with operational readiness and mission accomplishment?
Exactly. Like, you could literally look fabulous and just be glowing as long as you're up on that 240 laying down some fucking kill dust, for sure. All right, fucking sparkle the bad guys, sparkle them with fucking the tracer rounds and go, oh my God, girl. Like, fuck yeah. Mark 19s for days. And you're just like, a thunk. Yeah, babe. Ooh, I'm rocking so good. I mean, I don't know. I don't think any drag queen talks like that. It was probably a horrible impression. But I watched Birdcage.
It was your impression, right?
It's mine. I watched Birdcage, Tu Wong Fu. I'm down. All right. Wesley Snipes looked amazing. Are you kidding me? Patrick Swayze made me question my sexuality slightly. All right.
Mrs. Doubtfire, man. That was where it was at.
Dude, get me that old muff. I don't want that new muff. Give me that muff I like. Oh my God. And so it's trippy because this is the type of conversations people say we shouldn't be having, but at the bowling point, it's like, well, dude, we accept you. Or dudette, I don't know. We accept you. We just want you to do good. And then, well, what does that mean? Well, usually it means shutting the fuck up a bit about how you had to duct tape your dick between your butt cheeks, okay? Like, it's just at that point,
My outlook, so the other thing too is like people's current situations in their lives dictate how they interpret things. You know what I mean? Back when I was single in the Navy, whatever, and my opinions on things are completely different now that I am older and have children that are being exposed to this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, so like everything I do now reference like viewing things and forming an opinion on things and whatnot is not based on how I feel about things. It's based on how my children are going to be affected by certain things. Because that's part of your job as a father is like, you need to look out for your children and stuff like that.
Yeah. And you bringing that up is very important.
My kids don't need to be being, inundated with all of this stuff every time they turn on the TV or they go in someplace and they get exposed to it. And part of that as a role as a father is to make sure that I'm, not shielding them and like closeting them.
You don't want to be like a
off
helicopter parent
from things, but exposing them to that in manners in which I feel they will understand it, and then having those conversations with them about why certain things are the way they are or why certain people choose to do certain things. Like that kind of stuff needs to be on my, time frame and my agenda. And when I feel that they are appropriate maturity levels for certain things to be able to sit and have those mature adult conversations. I don't want my kids turning on Disney Channel and seeing, cartoon people talking about their pronouns and stuff like that.
No, I completely
because
agree.
It's not Disney Channel's job to teach my kids about that kind of stuff and whatnot. And yes, it's my job to monitor what they're watching and my job to do all that kind of stuff. But I can't sit over their shoulder 24/7 and watch everything they're doing and monitor everything that they do, because one, that's not how you create well-functioning members of society, like by hovering over them when they're in their development stages and stuff like that. But on two, like, the only way that they grow is to be exposed to those things themselves and form their own opinions. But it has to be in a controlled environment, like where I have some sort of an influence on how that conversation goes and stuff like that. Adults, knock yourselves out. Go crazy. Dress how you want to dress. Love who you want to love. I don't care about any of that stuff until it starts bleeding into my house outside of my control.
Exactly.
Then it's when I have an issue with it. But as far as like people identifying however they want to identify, I don't care. Like I too early in my life, I was exposed to too much hate to be holding on to ridiculous things this late in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm like I was an angry, violent, hateful person early on in my military career because of situations that I was put in and things I had to deal with and the lack of support system during all of that stuff. Like the only way that it manifested was in anger and hate.
Yeah, but that anger
now
go on.
made me do my job better. It made me do my job better.
Yeah.
But I wasn't a well-functioning member of society. You know what I mean? Like I was what they call in terminology in the old industry, a libo risk. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my God, dude.
I was drinking to excess. I was getting into fights. Like I was not in a good place because of the loss and the trauma and everything that I experienced at such a young age, and the responsibility that was laid on my shoulders, and the lack of, like I said, like the lack of support network behind me whenever I would get back from these things. That's the crazy thing. Like, you go on deployment, they give you a gun and grenades and ammo, and they point you in a direction and say, the bad guys are over there. If they're not wearing your clothes, shoot them. And then you get back and they go, all right, we'll take your gun and we'll take your grenades and go on out in town and have fun.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, what? Like, looking back, I'm like, that was a shit fucking policy. You know what I mean? Like, now you haven't been able to drink for 6 to 8 months to a year because you've been in a combat environment. And now we're going to bring you back. You have unlimited access to booze, a year's worth of pay because you haven't been able to spend it on shit. And we're just going to cut you loose into the wilderness and pray for the best.
Yeah. It's a shit show. And I'm surprised it's not gone worse, honestly.
Oh, God.
Like, think about it. Me and my buddy,
when we got back from our first time in Afghanistan, we had so much money and so we were just unguided in any capacity. Like, we get back and you're in a military town. There's two things to do. You can drink and go to like the titty bar, or you can sit in your barracks and stare at the walls all day. And so we were like, F it, it's Monday after work. We might as well go to the titty bar because we got shit else to do. Go throw money at alcohol and strippers and shit.
And at this time, where were you stationed?
And this is in Lejeune in North Carolina.
So you've been to Driftwood?
Oh, all of it. Bro, I had a parking spot.
Oh,
like I had a parking spot at the Driftwood. They knew me by the bouncers knew my first name. The DJ knew my name. I knew all of the dancers' first names, not their stage names, like their actual legit names, because we were there so much. I'm not proud of that part of my life, okay? But it happened.
There was a sharpshooters was
if I'd have
another
taken
one.
that money, if I'd have taken that money and invested it in something, worth a shit, I'd be a billionaire right now. Like, but no, I donated to many a lonely girls college fund, and I like to think that in some way I got them to a better place in their life. But looking back now, like, poor choices were made. But it was a product of the environment that I was in. Like,
as long as you never went to those pink houses down the road, the trailer parks.
Oh no,
man, like,
God no!
That was
never
the
any place like that. I made sure they had an actual sign out front.
No, I remember a lot of places like you just drive down North Carolina, and just you just cruising around the outer area of Camp Lejeune. My favorite thing was looking at this ATV, I'm sorry, the quads with 20-inch rims. And I was like, holy fuck, that's so cool. And one of my buddies was like, yeah, I'm going to buy me that. And he sure as shit did. I was like, why the fuck would you buy that? He goes, because it's cool. I'm like, all right.
I got the money.
What a shit fucking investment, boss. But, but the main thing too is, like, I loved going out dancing there. There was a couple of clubs. There was Tar Heels. It was like a country western barn. Almost got in a fight.
Tar Heels out the back gate.
Yep.
Cherry Bombs was another one. Look, God. There's so many of them. Me and my buddies used to go out to bars specifically with the intent that we were going to get into a fight. Like, that was it. Like, we would get dressed up like we were going to go clubbing, and then we would go out to a club, and we would be in there for maybe an hour, drink a little bit, and then we would all circle back up and be like, all right, who's going first? And then it would be like, all right, Jim's going first, and Jim would wander off from the crowd and just start throwing hands, and then it would just, all pandemonium would break loose. We'd get thrown out. Bouncers would drag us out. We get pepper sprayed, whatever the hell's going on. All end up out in the street, because once we're out in the street, they don't give a shit. And then it's like, all right, everybody in the car, we're going to the next spot. Like, because there was nothing else to do.
And there were so many spots. Yeah.
And they don't regulate, like, or not regulate. They don't prepare young, angry, alcohol fueled young men who just came back from combat to ease back into society. There's no program for that. It's literally just like, oh, you were fine 2 days ago. Knock yourself out. But if I come back, like, I could go out the day I got back and get shithouse drunk, drive my car, get into a fight, do all that kind of stuff, and nobody would bat an eye. But if I got back and I didn't drink alcohol at all, but I wanted to ride my motorcycle, Jesus Christ, you would think that I just fucking slapped the commander in the face with my dick and then, like, beat his wife in front of him because I said I wanted to ride my motorcycle.
It's
like,
nuts,
you can't ride your motorcycle. Yeah, you can't ride your motorcycle. You need to go through these 15 training courses to learn how to re-ride your motorcycle. And
or you
all this
can't
kind
go
of stuff.
further than, what is it? Well, I think there was a mileage.
You can't go a certain number of miles unless you have a 3-day weekend and all that kind of stuff.
I never paid attention to that shit, bro.
And I'm like,
Never.
I just want to go ride my motorcycle. Like, it's my only form of transportation. You know what I mean? Like, this is my only way to get around, and I can't do it because I have to go to all these classes, which, by the way, we can't even get you into a class for like another 3 to 4 months because they're all full and whatnot. So I'm getting punished, and all I want to do is go enjoy motorcycle rides. Like, these dudes are getting drunk and beating people up out in town every week, and you guys are perfectly okay with that. And if they're doing that, that's telling me that they're drinking and driving. You know what I mean? Because ain't no Marine being the designated driver.
I've never heard of a 100% sober driver at that point. You know what I mean? It's the one who's not that fucked up.
The only reason I got invited places a lot of the times is because my guys were going to do shit like that, and I was the corpsman, and they knew that I would take care of them and get them back to base if shit went sideways. That's why I got invited, like, not because they liked me.
You said that, and it just reminded me of what I was saying about my kids. Like, I'll drink, but not to an excess, because I know I have to take responsibilities and I have obligations. And so you're hitting on that a lot. And so let's talk about that value point, right? There's this absurd necessity to take care of others, right? And even at the cost of ourselves, like you brought it up with the marches, right? The humps, we should call them. I remember humping through Camp Lejeune and getting just soggy as fuck, right? Our senior instructor, he loved long distance running and he loved getting wet. I don't know if he could have just gone to the strip clubs and he was still half wasted and was like, yeah, I don't know. But homie loved that shit. And what I remember the best was it's always, you have to take care of others. Like you were saying, you don't have that opportunity to sit down. You don't have the opportunity to change your socks. And as a parent, as a grown adult, we have that same obligation. I'm not saying everybody does, but the good ones do. And to be able to take care of others, it kind of seems like a driving point to take away from it. For you yourself, having suffered those losses and in such a way where you were, powerless in a sense, that's the same kind of sensation I have a lot of the time towards things, is that powerlessness. Like, no, I need to run in there. I need to take care of the shit. I need to be boss hog, like, bruh. But the reality of a lot of circumstances that we find ourselves in, or society doesn't want you to step up. Like you were saying, hey, once it starts bleeding into my household, that's when I have an opinion. But society doesn't want you to do that. Why? Because you can't market that. You can't market responsibility and obligations. You can't advertise.
Well, you can't market it, but everybody in society, for the most part, everybody's kind of a harsh term. The vast majority of people, I feel, just want to get through life and not be bothered. And if you are one of those people that feels like you need to step up and you need to do things, you're rocking the boat. And people don't like that. People just want to go to work, collect their paycheck, go home at the end of the day, and, rinse and repeat until they die.
Yeah.
And military people like get that beaten out of them very early in the process. And they have, purpose and stuff like that. Some of them still feel that way. Like, I'm just collecting a paycheck. Like,
yeah, I ran into that as well.
Doing my 4 years until I get out, and then I'm using my GI Bill to go to school. And you know what? Good on you. But if you came into the military and that was your reason, like, I come from a shit background or whatever, I need a way to pay for college, this is a way to do it.
Other than stripping.
Other than stripping, like there's other ways to go about that. If that's the way that you chose to serve your country and do your contract and use it so that you could better yourself, and you have no intention of staying in, I have no ill will against you. You know what I mean? Like, you stepped up, you did contribute, like, you deserve the benefits entitled to you for contributing and whatnot. So, like, get your paper and run, homie. But when you get out and you get into the civilian world and stuff, like, there's so many more people they're literally just at a job to collect a paycheck. Like, if it falls outside of their designated duties, like, it's a huge inconvenience for them.
Yeah, there's scope of day to day. Yeah.
Like, Sebastian Junger has this whole thing where he talks about transitioning soldiers back into society and how, as a society, we're just absolutely dropping the ball. And he talks about it brilliantly. And one of the things he says, which I found and whatnot to be true, is that, these military guys that are serving and stuff like that, when they get out, like, I went from on Monday morning, I was surrounded by people that would literally die to make sure that I was okay.
And kill.
You know what I mean? And they would lay down on a hand grenade and sacrifice themselves to make sure that I made it home to my kids, because they were single. They didn't have, a wife or family or something. They would gladly give up to make sure, like, I would be able to get home and see my kids. You know what I mean? On Tuesday, I'm out of the military and I can't trust anybody to do anything for me in any capacity. Like, I am 100% on my own. And, like, even having a wife and kids, that's the thing. Like, even though I have a wife and she's amazing and she takes care of me in so many other ways than just being my wife. Like, she looks after, like, my mental health on certain things. She gets like, she realizes, like, things are going bad, and she'll take the kids and be like, hey, daddy just needs some time. And she realizes things are going on even before I do. You know what I mean? Even with her being like that, I'm still alone in a room when we're sitting on the couch together. You know what I mean? Because like you can't let go of that nagging feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just like,
and it's rooted in fear.
And to be reintegrated back into society and have a society that 100% does not give a shit about you or anything else other than themselves. That's the reason that we have such a huge issue and with transitioning military members and stuff. And Sebastian Younger, he's got YouTube videos where he does TED Talks and stuff. And I recommend going and watching them because like not only does he hit the nail on the head, but he even goes into like how we could fix it, even though he knows like it'll never be fixed.
No.
And stuff like, but he says like, you know, reintegrating these people back into society is like society's job, and society is failing
miserably
about it and stuff. Yeah. And he goes on about it. And like I said, Sebastian Younger TED Talks is one of the things that like I always recommend when people have questions about that stuff, because he's got a couple of them, but there's one on like why men want to go back to war and stuff, and he goes in depth on that one. And that one's I want to say it's like a 10 or 15-minute video, but it is a solid watch. Like it's one of those ones like you watch it, and then when it's done, you just kind of sit there in silence for a few minutes because you're like processing everything. Yeah.
Now, do you find that a lot of the time when you're processing, like, let's say you have an experience, right? Like, so after today, I'm going to be processing the show, right? I'm going to be processing a lot of the talking points. Like, what do I want to keep in? What do I want to cut out? How do I thin the fat and get the meat down the throat, right? And for a lot of the conversations that I have with guests, we don't really ever hit on so many talking points that, you know, I've agreed or experienced personally, or, you know, unless they're corpsmen, like Jared Napier, we just had him on again. And we talk a lot about being a corpsman, you know, being that, what that means to you, being a part of that identity and having those core values and those morals and those beliefs, right? And I'm not saying the Marine Corps isn't a cult nor a religion, but it's pretty fucking close.
It is.
It is. Like, let's be honest. What makes the green grass glow? Blood,
sir. 1775 Ton Tavern, Overlay Johnson. Trusty Puller, like you just.
It's like you can't help yourself. Like if I were to say, oh, what do we do who do we do one more for? Okay, everybody knows. But the whole point of it, it's kind of like, well, then how do we have the expectation of reintegration, right? And why, as a society, are we are aware of it? Okay, you know, and I'm not saying, because you did touch on, you know, being a combat correspondent, Joker, Full Metal Jacket. I remember coming home from deployment and I went partying with my cousin, right, out in Whittier, California. Great place. I highly recommend you go there. Anybody that wants to have a beautiful time, Whittier's a great place to party and have a good, you know, just a cool place. You can go cruising down Whittier Boulevard. There's actually music about it. It's very difficult to reintegrate because, like you were saying, not everybody's on the same page or understanding. And one of the things that I experienced then was I was using my Navy Federal card, and at the time it processed as credit, but it comes out of your account, right? And now I don't use anything else but credit because it protects your money and your assets and liabilities, et cetera, et cetera. And my cousin, who's going to college for financing or whatever, business school, you know, he made a joke at the register. He goes, "You're so broke, you're paying credit for beer." And I'm like, yeah, because that's how it processes. I'm not in control of the bank. Yeah. You know, like, I wish now that I didn't do it. Why are you fucking nagging on me, bruh? Like, I am paying for our beer for the weekend right now, motherfucker. Like,
be grateful and get off my dick.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
but this is my cousin. I expect that we're very tight. And at the same time, you know, we're hanging out with the other kids and grown people and grown folk, going to parties. We went to the homecoming, met a lot of different people at the Radisson there. It was a great party, great times. But what I noticed is that when you tell people you served, you get two reactions. You like you were saying, you get the negative reaction where like you were saying, but it usually comes from our community. Like, oh, well, you know, I was a staff sergeant. What were you? I'm like, I'm a corpsman. They go, oh, fuck. You know, and I'm immediately like, oh, fuck, doc. Yeah. Like, yeah. Like, why did we start out so weirdly at the beginning of this conversation? And there's this inherent pecking order. and it becomes like a societal intrusion. Like I remember going to parties now, like recently, a couple years ago, I should say, and networking and meeting people. And I had a fella ask me what I do for a living, and I go podcasting, and he goes, "Oh wow, so you make a lot of money like Joe Rogan?" I go, "Fuck no, I don't make any money." And he abruptly goes, "You know what? I'm gonna go refresh my drink." And I'm like, "Okay, like just because I don't make money now, right? That's the new pecking order. You're
Yeah, everything now is based on like how many followers you have.
Yeah,
and it boggles my mind because that's the funny thing. Like the way that you found me, like you said, like you found my Instagram, and I made you laugh, and you're like, you know what, I got to get in touch with this guy, and which is crazy to me because I didn't start messing around with any sort of Instagram, Facebook, social media content creation, like with the intent of making things for other people outside of like my immediate circle of influence, like my family, my cousins, a couple of my buddies from the Marines. Like that was all. I had 90 followers in the middle of February, and all of them were somebody that I served with or direct relative of some sort, And then one of the projects I had to do for school was when I was getting my degree was develop social media campaigns for like a fake business, and like develop content plans and run social media advertising and that kind of stuff for like a fake organization. And I got out and I was bored one day and I was like, I wonder like how legit like all this stuff that I just spent 4 years of GI Bill money and things like
all this shit I just poured money into. Like, I wonder how beneficial it is.
Yeah, was this a wise career choice, or should I have gone to school for marketing or for like accounting or something? Like
something more tangible.
Yeah, right. And so I just started messing around and making stupid little reels for Instagram and then cross-posting them to Facebook. And they would get a couple hits here and there. Well, first I had to change all my profiles from like private, because I was extremely private. Like if you weren't a friend or I didn't know you, you didn't have access to my account.
Know you. That's my purse.
Yeah, like, that's my purse. I don't know you. Yeah, so everything was locked down. So first I had to get over the crippling anxiety of turning my shit from extremely private to a like public influencer style profile and whatnot. So once I did that, and then I started messing around and making dumb little videos, like I said, like my friends and family would comment on it, or they would like it or whatever. And then like, because you're creating things as a digital creator, the algorithm starts forcing your shit out into the sphere, and putting it in front of other people's eyes. And then the next thing I know, like I went to sleep on like a Friday and I woke up on a Saturday and I had like 10,000 followers. Wow. And I was like, what like my first thought was to stare at my phone and have a panic attack. Like literally like borderline Sheldon on the couch, breathing into the bag, like panic attack. Like, what have I done? and then I was like, well, I mean, the cat's out of the bag now. Like, we might as well mess around with stuff.
The cat's out of the bag. You can't put the cat back in, baby.
Yeah, and so then that train derailment in Ohio happened, where they dumped all the chemicals in Ohio in like end of February. And I made a because one of the things I did when I was a corpsman is they sent me to chemical biological casualty provider course, right? So I was specifically trained, right? Yeah, so I was specifically trained by the government to treat people in the after effects of some sort of chemical biological nuclear attack, right? And they taught us all kinds of shit. And that train derailment happened, and they just lit that stuff on fire. And one of the things that happens when you light that stuff on fire is one of the byproducts of it burning in small amounts is it creates phosgene gas. And it's been in the news all over the place afterwards and around it and all that stuff. And I made a video that was like, that's what they made. Like, because they were reporting people getting sick and people were coming out and their livestock was all dead. And, like the lady came out and all of her chickens in her chicken coop were dead. And they didn't know why and all that stuff. And I was like, because they burned that train car full of crap and it made phosgene gas and it went around in the surrounding areas and was killing everything. And they're like, well, why aren't the people getting sick? And so like I made a little video series where I was like, this is why people aren't getting sick. One, because the dose is incrementally small and they were outside, but two, like it's a low lying gas. It stays low. So like people in an area like that, if they're not down in trenches or something like that, where it's displacing the oxygen, it's not going to affect them nearly as much as, I don't know, chickens in an enclosed coop. And now it's offsetting the oxygen and stuff in there and whatnot. So I ran this whole video series about all of that. And the next thing I know, like that video has over 2 million views and people are sharing it. And now I'm up to like almost 20,000 followers. And like, I'm like, holy crap, like what is going on?
Like, how do you manage something like that? Right. Like I've been doing
like
this
overnight,
for quite
literally
some time.
overnight.
Yeah, like overnight.
And
that's
I was
a
like,
huge shift.
And I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I said, I was just messing around. And it was one of those things like I put out that information and like made a reels about it and was like, that's what they were using in World War II. And it was like the Germans and the Allies and stuff. That's what they were using in trench warfare with phosgene gas, chlorine gas, all that stuff. Like phosgene killed more people than anything else in the wars. You know what I mean? So it's like I was sharing this knowledge that I was given. And that's all I was doing, was just sharing knowledge that I had from my many hats and years in the military, and just kind of like whatever. And people were taking it and they were freaking running with it, man. And like I said, like over 2 million views, like constant comments and stuff. I got people messaging me now that I don't even know, and they're like sharing things with me and stuff. And I still don't know how to process that. And that was back in February. Like even today, like I'll post a video and like I don't got anything after that that's got even remotely close to millions of views. You know what I mean? Like I average a couple thousand here and there, but the fact that people are even remotely like the fact that anybody follows me outside of my like family still boggles my mind. I don't think I'll ever get used to the fact that I have followers.
Right.
that like, and not only that, but like followers that like came and saw something, decided to follow, and then have like started like interacting. Because I try, like I have a day job, I have a weekend job, like I have other things going on. So I try to interact as much as possible and whatnot. And like the interaction with people and doing the little videos and posting stuff and all that, like it still is like, it's awkward to me. Like, I don't know. And like the other day I got, what was it? Like I post videos and people respond back, or people like it, or people share it, which, is the whole nature of social media. So I get dinks on my phone, like so-and-so shared your video and stuff. And I'm just like, wow, dude, like it still surprises me every time because I don't know why somebody would follow me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, and stuff. So like I don't see why you're following me, but you're following me. I'm grateful. Like that's awesome. And I don't think I will ever get over that. You know what I mean? Like you get some of these people that like these Twitch streamers and these other people that like, oh, you got time to watch, but you don't have time to donate money to me and all this kind of stuff. Like I'm never going to be like that person. Like I physically could not, like my heart could not allow me to get on social media and demand people send me money because I've made something that they watched. Like I physically couldn't do it.
See, I do that for Patreon nowadays. And all of it is that I have it activated and I tell people it's there. Here's the secret. It's nothing there.
Yeah, if you want to go and watch my stuff, or if you feel the need, like, and that's the other thing is like after a couple of weeks, all of a sudden like these different things are like opening up, like, hey, we've noticed that you're actually creating things that people like. You can start monetizing your shit and whatnot. Like that still boggles my mind.
Don't
like,
fall into the trap of the blue mark, bud. Like that's
yeah. I'm never gonna pay for any of that stuff.
I did to test it out because that's something that I do. I like testing things out. I did it for Twitter. I tell you what, nothing changed. Okay, There was no
it doesn't.
influx of traffic.
You just
There
have a
was no-
shiny little thing.
Yep. Same thing with Instagram. And you know what? I started laughing because then the memes started coming out like, oh, you bought that blue check mark, huh? You think you're somebody you're not. I'm like, no, I bought it because I was testing something. Ass.
And that's the other thing is like the people argument in the comments and stuff. Like I try to like get in there and interact and stuff like that. But like, I'm not going to sit here. Like you're not going to, I did a couple of videos where I was talking about like going from being a corpsman to being a Marine and that kind of stuff. And I had people saying like, oh, stolen valor and all this kind of shit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and argue like my service with you in the comments. Like I don't have anything to prove to you and whatnot. So there's like other things. And then I'll make other videos that kind of tag off of that. Like, but I don't ever call anybody out specifically, you know? And again, like, I don't think I'm an influencer per se. Like, I don't know why these people are following me and whatnot.
See,
but
then again, that's something that you're falling into, not realizing that you're into it, right? Like you fall into the swamp, you immediately know you're in some swamp shit, right? But the truth of the matter,
you slowly get lowered into it, you don't realize. And that's the thing is like, I will never be one of those people that demands fame. Like I don't demand you follow me and all this kind of, if you want to, cool. I had somebody say something about that I'm only on there making these videos so that like I can get my 15 minutes of fame. And I'm like, bro, I'll delete all of this tonight. Like I don't care.
I love that you brought that up. The whole fame thing. No,
I don't need this. Like this does not pay my bills. Like I do this because some of the things I find entertaining and because in some capacity other people have found it entertaining. And it goes back to being a corpsman, man. Like the like taking care of other people. Like if all I can do with my spare time is make dumb little videos and somebody laughs at it and it makes their day a little bit better, then that's the only reason I'm doing this for. Like, I don't need to be famous. I don't need to be one of these people that like is instantly recognizable out in town and stuff like that. Like, I don't need any of that.
See, that's the thing like, I think it actually too many people want though, you know?
Yeah, well, yeah, everybody thinks they're going to be the next, you know, like Mr. Beast or something like that. And like, you're not. Like, you're just not. Just accept that you're not.
Which
grind for it. He's the one that does all like the crazy videos where he like gives stuff away.
Oh,
and like does the competitions and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
no, I did see that.
You know, you're not going to deal. You know how you get to be a Mr. Beast and a Joe Rogan and all these big things is you have to dedicate every ounce of energy to that. And I don't have that kind of energy to give away.
Exactly.
And like, it's so like I do it to if people like it and people follow, cool. If they don't follow, cool. I'm not going to lose any sleep at night. And it actually makes me uncomfortable when things happen. Because like I said, like the day I woke up and I had 10,000 followers, I had a panic attack. And then I made a video where I was like, I don't know why you're following me, but I will try and keep making content that you like. But yeah, like, I don't know what's going on.
No, it's so true.
Like last month I had a company message me and was like, hey man, we like your content. We love what you're doing. We've got a new product line coming out. Can we send you some stuff? And I was like, yes, I guess. Like, sure. Like, I didn't know you even followed my content, so that's weird. And two, I've got like I said, I've got like 20,000 followers on Facebook. I've got like just under 7,000 on Instagram. Like, I don't have any kind of reach. So like, why are you thinking that I'm the person to get your product out there? Like, that's weird. And I even said that to him. I was like, you know, I didn't know you followed my stuff. I'll be glad to make, like, you send me something, I'll make a video and say that you guys sent it to me, and I'll display it and all that kind of stuff, which I did. And I went in there, I was like, I don't know why. Like, I'm not super popular. Like, it's not like I'm reaching some sort of like Kardashian level audience.
It's not,
you know,
that's not the game anymore, dude. Like,
yeah, it's just like,
I'm so happy. Like, you're really painting a perfect picture, right? For breakout artists and breakout, you know, podcasters, entertainers, etc. Even though you don't see yourself that way, you are. And that's the game right now, especially in marketing. You start with grassroots, you develop that individual. or you have this small individual group, so you're monetizing smaller implemental aspects to your demographics, right? You get a product in front of enough eyes, the product picks up, right? So they're saving hand over fist because they're coming to you. And this is just, this is me just breaking down.
What did it cost them to send me a t-shirt and some stickers?
Right.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. What they get in the return is 40,000 sets of eyes, right? 50,000 sets of eyes, whatever, how many plays, however many times, however many millions of views, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That is the marketing value. That is the value. And that's it. Other than that, if you were to turn around and say, cool, yeah, absolutely. And here's what I learned in the audio engineering world. 10 seconds on any radio station is going to cost you, okay, homie? A lot. It's not cheap.
Oh, yeah.
It's not fucking, it's not pennies on the dollar. It's literally dollars on the dollar, okay? And the return of that is when you have social media, digital media. I did a lot of back-end digital media production for a radio talk show host back in 2015. He didn't understand what I was doing, right? So I agreed with him. I helped him out. I love the guy. He's still doing great stuff. But a lot of people don't understand what you're doing when you do digital creation or podcasting, social media, etc. It is no longer what it was back in the day. Even though it's the same target, eyes on screen, asses in seats, ears on speakers, right? But it's more now, what do people look at and how often do they look at it? Even negative press, right? You'll pop up, hey, the negative press, 80 billion killed, fucking 1,000 children's molested, whatever. But on the feed, you'll see, oh, by the way, AstroTurf. AstroTurf will help protect you if you learn how to run on AstroTurf. And you're like, the fuck is this? Me and my wife were literally just talking about this. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I am so sick of it because it's become television, right? It's become radio where every fucking thing you hear other than, what you're trying to watch every other 5 seconds is, hey, have you ever wanted to try Bahama Mama sauce? No, bitch. I am trying to watch a retarded video at 3 a.m. that's distracting me from not sleeping good because of some shit that I don't want to talk to my therapist about. And here you are saying, do you want fucking Bahama Mama goddamn fucking sauce? No. What I want is to learn.
That's what my buddy said. I was like, dude, what is going on? Because he was following when it initially jumped off. He was like, he's the one that actually told me because I made the video later in the evening, posted it, and then I put my phone down. I didn't pick my phone up again the next day because it's the weekend, and I got my kiddos with me, so we're doing breakfast and dad's making pancakes and all that kind of stuff.
Fucking pancakes.
And my phone rings and my buddy is on the other end, and I'm like, what's up, dude? What's going on? And he's like, oh, you tell me, Mr. Big Shot. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, have you not looked at social media today? And I'm like, no, I've been doing breakfast with the kiddos. And he's like, why don't you go check out your Facebook, homie? And that's when that's how I learned about it. And I opened it up and I was like, holy shit. And I'm like 10,000. And he's like, yeah, bro. He's like, that's 1 0 and then 3 more zeros if you were not processing that. And I'm like, no, I'm processing it. I just don't understand why. And it was just insane. And I was like, dude, I don't know what to do. Because I immediately saw that, and my first thought, like I said, I had a panic attack, and my second thought was to shut it down, pull the plug on this. It snowballed way out of control. Delete, fucking lock the account back down, go back to my own little hermit cave and stuff like that. And he's like, nah, bro. He's like, you got to run with it now. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because he was actually in the comments, reading things. And he's like, the discussions that you're creating with the stuff, even though you may not think it, he's like, the topics that you're hitting on and the people are talking, he's like, this is important. He's like, I know you don't feel it. He's like, but you have, even if you don't have a dedicated message, he's like, shit's going on. He's like, he's like, I've known you for 8 years, bro. He's like, you've got a way to spread knowledge and to talk to people and to say things that, one, you can make it so everybody understands. He's like, but two, he's like, you can make things entertaining that otherwise wouldn't be entertaining. And that's kind of what people are gravitating towards. He's like, they're not gravitating to you, they're gravitating to the message. And they're gravitating to the fact that they don't realize it, but they need something in the message that you're sharing. And they may not fully understand what it is that you need or they need at the time, but they need something. And it's causing them to start talking in the comments, and people are having discussions, and people are expressing ideas and all that stuff, all because you made a dumb 30-second video.
Yeah.
He's like, you gotta run with this. And I was like, I don't know how to run with this. And he told me, he said, you just gotta sprinkle some old razzle dazzle on it. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. And he was like, I know. And then he hung up the phone, and that was the end of it.
Spirit fingers that bitch, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And so just give him the old razzle dazzle, click, and that was it. And then I was just left standing in the kitchen with half burning pancakes, and my kids wondering when their seconds were coming to process that, and it was just one of those things.
The room.
And as the alarm goes off, and they're like, Daddy, pancakes are done. And I was like, okay, but yeah, so then I had to do that. And then I spent the next probably 2 or 3 days just kind of mulling over what he said, and was like, you know what? You're right. He's right. It's not about me. It's never been about me. It's always been about others. And that goes, like you said, goes back to the Corpsman thing. It's not about what I'm feeling. My guys need to come to me to vent, then that's what my purpose is. And so if people need to come to my dumb little soapbox on social media and watch me make a fool of myself on different things, or hear the extremely stupid jokes that I made, or whatever, if that's what they need to do, and it gives them some sort of little tiny relief in their mundane daily drag out, just everything else is weighing them down, and that 30 seconds kind of resets them, then that's what I'm there for. And I don't care if
that levity
people follow or not. If I got you 30 seconds of laughter, and now you're back into your day, and now your day's not quite as bad, then that's the only reason I record and post dumb shit. You know what I mean? I don't expect money from monetization on the stuff. I've got a day job. It pays me pretty good.
I do. Fuck that shit. I want everybody listening. Pay this motherfucker
everybody said,
hand and fist dollars. Fuck OnlyFans. Stop looking at a coochie you're not going to touch, right? This is some advice this is. All
everybody
right?
monetize my guy's podcast right now. Let's get his water kept on.
Yeah.
And then
fuck the water. I want Dom Perignon, man. I want all the good shit. I want to be living like fucking Steve Harvey, bro. Fuck that shit. No, I'm just kidding. Could you imagine?
All right. I'll be 100% honest with you right now, and honest with the listeners and stuff. My stuff got monetized and whatnot, and then they've changed the way they do things, and it's weird. But Facebook monetized my stuff early. Instagram, I still don't even have any way to monetize on Instagram. But Facebook unlocked all of the crap early on for me to be able to monetize things. And I made one time, because everything since then has been really low. And like I said, they changed their way that they pay out monetization stuff.
Well, what's the thing on Facebook to follow you first? Plug that shit, bro.
Everything is a Marine called Doc. A Marine, _Marine called _Doc. It's all the same. I have a YouTube that I've got set up that's all linked to it. I haven't started posting anything on there because I've been messing around with that and trying to get that lined up. My Twitter is literally Marine called Doc. Everything is the same. It's all linked. And actually, if you go on my Facebook profile, my Facebook profile picture, the header picture for your profile has everything listed out. So if you felt the need to go and check it out, that's where it is, and you can get all of it.
No, they need it.
There.
They want it.
Yeah,
that's the reason why I ask. I know what my listeners want, bro, and I don't even speak the languages half of them speak, bro. But that's the thing.
So my first thing got monetized, and Facebook was like, "Hey, by the way, you did really good and we're going to send you some money. And I was like, do what now? Like, I don't understand what's going on. And because I never went into this thinking like, oh, this is a way that I can pay my bills. You know what I mean? Like, so they were like, yeah, we're going to send you a check. And I was like, cool. And then they were like, we're going to send you a check for like almost $800. And I was like, that's really cool. Thanks. Appreciate that. So that's
Thanks
the money
for the
that I
tax
used.
bracket increase, ass.
Yeah, like fucking dicks, right? Like, so like that's what I used to buy the Roadcaster and get all the equipment for that. Like, so like I'm not like, oh yeah, like these suckers are sending me money and I'm gonna buy a new car with it. Like, it literally goes into equipment to create better content in the future. Like, because I don't know what else to do with it. I'm not that kind of guy that's like all of a sudden like, oh, I've got a bunch of extra money. Like, let me go buy a bunch of ridiculous, frivolous toys and a new car and all that kind of stuff. Like,
I mean, don't get me wrong. Well, hopefully you get to that point, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of guys out there that are doing that. They're doing great work. Like what's the guy, the Demolition Ranch guy? I like watching him, right? It's super entertaining. I would never pay $1 out of my wallet, but it's super entertaining. The Diesel Brothers, is a super entertaining group of guys that buy helicopters now. I'm like, that's wonderful. I am so glad.
But they're also at that level though, where that's their job. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that is true.
Like their whole thing focuses around like the content they make. And don't get me wrong, if I was ever that popular where that was my sole source of income is the stuff that I put on social media, that would be cool. But I would never dude, I was E3. I went from being E5 in the Navy down to E4 in the Navy, selected for E5 after I got kicked out, by the way, down to E2 in the Marine Corps and had to start back over. Like, I didn't come from money. Like, I don't have like rich parents that pay for my bills and all that kind of stuff. Like, I've had to earn everything that I've ever got since I was 17. And there's a lot of people that are like that. Like, I'm no different. I'm no special. But if I ever got to the point where I was making ridiculous amounts of money, like, there's other people that need stuff more than me. Like, I would keep the lights on. I would keep food on the table and whatnot. I would make sure some money went back into production value for different things. But any extra money I got is going back into things like bullets and Band-Aids.
See, I love that you brought that up. Yeah, I love that because like, it's true.
If I won the lottery tomorrow and I had some ungodly millions of dollars, yeah, my kids would be taken care of. I would buy my mom a house because that's what you're supposed to do when you get a bunch of money.
Yeah.
You buy your mama a house,
yes.
Right? So mom would get a house. My kids would make sure their college and all that stuff would be taken care of well before they needed it. I would make sure that our family was set up with a decent house. Like, I don't need a 40-room mansion. You know what I mean?
Not at all.
Not at all. So
what you need is probably about 1,500 square feet, and it's going to be a bitch to keep clean as it is, man. Like,
yeah, that's the other thing. I don't need to think because I'm not hiring maids. Like, I got to clean it myself, so I'm not getting whatever. I might get a chunk of property, a couple acres here or there, and whatnot. But then the rest of that, like, is what am I going to do? I'm not going to spend it all before I die. Like, I could try, but it's going to go to crap. I don't need a Maserati in the driveway, and
they sit too low anyway.
And I don't need diamond rings on every finger and all that kind of crap. So what am I going to do? I'm going to give it to people.
My fingers get swollen, bro. I don't need any rings on my fingers.
Right. I got poor circulation. I can't be having rings on every finger. So yeah, I'm giving back to bullets and Band-Aids. I'm giving back to other things. Like, I'm not hoarding it all for myself. And bullets and Band-Aids, I would probably cut a check to bullets and Band-Aids where they wouldn't need funding for the rest of their fucking existence. Like,
see, you say that, but here's the thing that I always tell people to keep an eye on the gestalt of what it is you're creating, right? And this is just a little personal little tidbit that I've learned along the long road of producing shit for about 10 years, is you see such a small vision now, not completely understanding the gestalt of your effect. That's telling me exactly what you said, the way that you described your journey to to breaking out and the journey to realization of vision, right? And so as you're building this relationship with the community, relationship with followers, listeners, and I just call it support. I am as equal to the left and right as anybody that listens to my voice, period. Whether I meet you and you're a server, you're my doctor, you're a police officer giving me a ticket for whatever the fuck you say I did, but I didn't. I'm just saying. But whatever it may be, you're of equal. We're on the same level as people and human beings. What I have learned though is if you don't wrap around this thought, of course I was going to ask you that if I could talk to Bill Gates, who owns so much goddamn farm property in the United States now, and get you $100 million, who would you give it to? And you already said bullets and Band-Aids. Fuck, did I fuck it up?
Bullets and Band-Aids.
Bulletsandbandaids.org. There we go. I say bulletsandbandaids.org. How you would say that after I asked that question. You approached it in the most appropriate manner. And then I go, yes. And however, once Bullets and Band-Aids takes off, there's going to be subcategories. How do you get to the kids of these family members? How do you redistribute the wealth that's created in these atmospheres of investment? And a lot of people look to things like Wounded Warrior Project and go, oh, they're hyper funded. And I go, yes, because there's not a lot of people seeing the entirety of what that money could do long run and full scope. So they hoard it in order to create more of it, not necessarily having anywhere to put it. So let's take for account, say hundreds of millions of dollars on an account. Let's just say $2 million on an account. And it's compounding interest of 4 to 5% because it's this, that, and the third, however it may work. You will never be able to spend the amount of money that is going into this compounding account once it reaches a certain amount of dollars. It's just... Oh,
yeah, just balloons unconditionally.
Exactly. Yeah. And as you're doubling down into those accounts, this is a big boy concept that a lot of people don't understand, especially guys that are, spending their money on Ginger's and Cinnamon's fucking education plan at fucking Driftwood, okay? Now, it's it's very it's obscure thinking that our community falls into these groups. There's a lot of people doing it, like Black Rifle Coffee, Evan Haffer's great guy, love what he does. Joe Rogan has a great following, love what he does. He's giving people a platform like Brian Simpson, who I've had on the show before. He's prior Marine. They're doing a lot of great stuff at Mothership. They're starting new shows. They're building out these concepts of creativity, right? And to invest in it like you're doing right now, I'm going to say it out loud. You're falling into the appropriate steps to get you higher and higher on this ladder that you may not be realizing you're on. So feedback, right? Feedback from the community, whether it be veteran community, whether it be entertainment or any otherwise. Here's my feedback. You're doing a great job. That's the reason I reached out and I was like, yeah, dude's got some fucking, got some chops. It's making me laugh. And I've been up since 3:00. So, I'm not saying it's a cheap laugh. It's a pretty solid laugh. And so I go into it and I talk to a lot of people about this stuff. Like if you could invest your energy, like you're saying, on the things that give you more energy, compound that interest, money will make itself. It sounds like a snake oil salesman when I talk about cannabis in the same way, mushrooms in the same way, DMT, whatever. But I'm not saying that that's going to be the be all of financing or message or speaking. It's the people that are accumulating these conversations, like your friend was telling you. Look at these conversations these people are having after your 30-second blurb of whatever, right? Well, fuck, most people wouldn't have that conversation because most people aren't going to be open, like you were saying earlier in the conversation. Most people aren't going to be open until somebody asks that dumb fucking question that opens up the entirety of what people are thinking and feeling. And so for where you're at, where do you see yourself slowly growing into, or, overnight again? What is it, the dream? What does the dream look like? Your own radio station, your own podcast that looks like, Joe Rogan's with the big ass studio. Is there a dream that you have a vision of, like with the fucking scary wolf monster in the background? Fuck that shit. Like, I don't know what's going on. Clearly drugs, but whatever.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Like, what does that look like for you moving forward?
Social media wise, I don't know. Like, I just want to probably keep making content that people enjoy. Like I said, like if you get a laugh, you get a little bit of entertainment value, that's cool. If I get to the point where I'm having to dedicate a ton of time to it, then I would be able to create that much better content. But I'm not at that level. You know what I mean? Eventually, that would be cool to get there. But the main thing that I would like to do is get people talk. And again, it goes back to bullets and band-aids. Like, the whole reason that we do what we do with them is to get people talking about these conversations that are just not being had. You know, like getting these veterans to tell their stories and stuff like that. Like this is a related but slightly unrelated. Like, I'm got my membership to the VFW. You know, I got my little lifetime membership card that's metal and it clinks when it hits the table and shit. And but go in there and there's so many guys that are, you know, at the VFW, and they just go there to drink and like be around people that, you know, have similar stories and stuff like that. And that's kind of the reason that I went in to the Marine Corps in the first place, is because I had all these experiences with these guys. I felt like their stories weren't given, like you always heard about. And again, this is very early on in the war on terror and Afghanistan and Iraq and all that stuff, like 2003, 2004, 2005 timeframe. And all the TV was filled with was like dudes in body bags. You know what I mean? But there was no other stories coming out, because blood and sex sell, right? So we'll show all these guys on TV and show all these, you know, these American troops getting off the back of C-130s with flags over them and stuff like that. What about the dudes that didn't die, that have to deal with that kind of stuff, and they bottle it up like we were talking about, and they have stories to tell and experiences to share, and they get back and then they feel like nobody wants to hear it. Well, that's exactly like the purpose and the foundation of Bullets and Band-Aids, and telling these guys stories and everything like that. The founder of the whole organization is a very good friend of mine. Like, he's my brother from Afghanistan, named Robert LaHoop. And he's the one that envisioned this whole thing and got it off the ground and running. And I am just a spectator in his world when it comes to this thing. Like, I am happy to have a seat on the bus and, you know, be taken along for the ride. But he's the one that got this whole thing going. And he, like, it came to him, the whole thing came to him one day. He was having a shit day and recollecting on things, and it just kind of came to him like, you know what, like, people need to hear these stories, and I'm not the only one that has stories like this. How do we go about doing that? And that's how the whole organization was founded and conceptualized. And then getting it underway and getting all this stuff, and it's a 501c nonprofit. Like, there is no monetary, like, we have a merchandise store that we sell things, and the money that is raised from that goes to pay for more merchandise, and then also to get us to the next show. Like, we collect donations and stuff like that. Everything is donation based at the different events and things like that. We have a lot of stuff where people donate the space to us to go and put our artwork and things in when we're doing our traveling shows. These venues will, like, they donate because they recognize, like, that we're doing a good thing. So they'll donate the space first for the couple days that we're there, and we sell tickets to get in. Like, it's not free. Like, if you're a veteran that has a piece in the show, you get in free. If you're a veteran in general, you get like a reduced entry fee, but normally it's only like $20 a person and whatnot. But all the money that's raised goes to pay for renting trucks to get all of the art to the different venues. You know, we do have, like, it's like an art show. So, like, you can show up and there's cocktail hour and all that kind of stuff. So we have to offset the cost of the alcohol and stuff like that. But we don't have like a definitive money stream coming in. And so any kind of popularity that I get from this that results in any sort of money goes into going back to them in some capacity, because, like, my boy struggles. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, dude, we need a U-Haul to get paintings from North Carolina to South Carolina over the weekend, and on top of that, we need to pay for the the champagne and the beer and stuff like that. And of course we sell all of that. Like, it's not complimentary and stuff, but we're also not flipping a huge profit. It's not like we're Wrigley Stadium, where it's like,
Yeah,
it's
but
$20 for a beer.
That's understandable. Yeah, no, that's understandable.
So like any money that comes from anything that I ever do above and beyond, like my day job, I funnel right back into some sort of thing to help out with it. Like I said, the podcasting, broadcasting stuff that I just bought with the microphones and the Roadcaster and stuff, that specifically was purchased for me to turn around and create the audio portions of the stories for this next iteration that we're going to do, so that there's actually like some legitimate production value to them, instead of it sounding like a guy reading it on his phone, which is what we had to do this last tour. So now we have a dedicated way to make these recordings, and I can input sounds, and I can have that background, like when we're talking about combat things, you can have like some low-lying combat noises in the background and get even more of that immersion for the listeners and the people that are at the shows to get pulled in that much more, which then turns around and creates even more conversations after the fact, because you're making more of a connection with these people that are coming to see the stuff. And then they leave, and then they tell their friends, like, yo, you got to go check this out. Like, yeah, they got art, but like you can listen to the things, and it's like little mini Hollywood production movies in your ears while you're looking at this crazy art. And we have amazing artists that contribute, and a lot of them and running the podcast and stuff, if you're doing something creative that you're passionate about, a lot of times there's no money in that, at least not initially. Like, it can develop to where you have money coming in because of your creative passion, but normally you need a freaking day job. And a lot of the artists and writers and stuff that contribute to it do it all like pro bono for free. If we do have any extra money, we tend to give the writers a stipend, like per story. Here's like $50 or something like that. Thanks for, just so they're not going away empty handed. We try to give back as much as we can, because a lot of them too are people that are veterans or have had experience with it in the past and stuff. So we want to give back to the people that help us and stuff. So we give the writers a little kickback. The artists, previously, like, we've auctioned all of the art off at the end of the tour, and all of the art is up for sale, and any profit, and it's like a bidding thing. It's not like, oh, you can buy this piece for $1,000. It's like, that's where the bidding starts, and it turns into like an art auction at the end. And then whatever we raise, a portion of that goes back to the artist, and then the rest of it goes back into cost of the agency to get more writers and more artists. Because my buddy, like, we just want to see this thing balloon out to where it's like across the country. Right now it's kind of isolated in the North Carolina, South Carolina kind of like surrounding areas, but we have envisions of getting all the way to California and every place in between, and telling veterans stories from all of those places, and having art shows in all of those places, and being able to incorporate more and more people. And every year we have some sort of a little thing. Like this year, like I was saying before, Columbia Museum of Art has a juried exhibition of our stuff for what we originally thought was going to be a couple weeks, turned into months. And it's crazy to us, like, when we turn around and we look at stuff like that, and like how rapidly things like that fall into place. Because 2 years ago we were completely shut down because of COVID. Last year we got up and running again. This year we're in the Columbia Museum of Art. Like, where do you go from there? You like the Smithsonian? Like, I don't know. Like,
going up, bro. That's the biggest thing.
Like, at the Marine Corps Museum of History, like, maybe we can get in there, like, and whatnot. And I don't have any sort of sway on any of that stuff. I help them with their social media stuff. And when my buddy calls me late at night and he's like, bro, I got a story, it fell through with the other writer, I need somebody to write it, can you help me? I'm like, I got you. It'll be in your inbox within an hour. Like that's the kind of stuff that I help out with. My buddy Robert, he is the one that is like schmoozing with people and is like, hey, so this is what we do. And then it's like he talks to this one person and that person's like, oh, you know what? I got a buddy that works for this organization and maybe we get in touch with them. And he's the one that's making all these connections to get the organization to these places, which it's his job. Like it's his baby. Like I expect him to do that stuff. But if I was able to get money to turn around and be like, yo, bro, like, you don't got to worry about renting no van anymore because we can buy our own that's just ours. Like, here's the money for it. Like, that's what I'm doing with any sort of money that I get.
That is awesome.
I don't need it. I don't need it. You know what I mean? Like, I got a pretty solid day job that pays my bills and takes care of my kids. And so, like, I don't need fancy cars and diamond rings and all of that stuff. Like
we
a lot of people say a lot of people say that they're like, oh, if I ever had money, like I wouldn't change. And then like, you know, they get a little bit of money and they absolutely lose their minds. Like,
yeah,
I'm not that person. My wife will tell you, like, we get our tax return back and I'm like, we should buy this. Nope. You know what? We don't need it. And then I talk myself out of it. like we need a new car or something like that. And I'm like, we should take this and put it as a down payment. And then I'm like, nah, you know what? We really need to like get a new couch or something like that. And then I'm turning around and I'm responsible. And then we put the money away for a rainy day or something like that, where I could have had like, we could have bought new phones and iPads and all this kind of stuff. Cause we just got our tax returns back. And like, I'm not that guy. Like, even my wife is like, we'll have stuff in the store and be like, you know what? We don't need it. And we'll put it back.
I love that. I do the same thing.
As we're like
you
walking,
catch yourself talking
as we're like
yourself
walking to the register. Yeah, all the time. If I had a bank account that had more than 3 zeros in it at any given point, I would probably freak out. Like not like I would not know what to do. I would immediately think the IRS was going to come smashing my door in, like the SWAT team, and be like, you know, like, get on the ground, motherfucker. Like I wouldn't know what to do.
Dude, the IRS don't even care if you're making drug money as long as you file the tax form, bro.
As long as I report it, and I wouldn't even like. I was like, I guess we got to go to H&R Block, like. Yeah, like call up Janet at H&R Block and let her know like some shit fucking happened and we need to fucking adjust things. But like, yeah, I wouldn't.
Homies,
I would make sure that
we got it now.
Yeah, I would just give it to people that I know need it. And my buddy, like in his organization, like it's one of those organizations that as long as it's around, I will probably be invested in some capacity. You know, I may not do social media for them forever. Like I may step down and let somebody else do it. And I may step into a different role, or, you know, I may move and, you know, focus mainly on like the audio production and stuff in the coming iterations or something, but I'll always be invested in some way where I'm helping out any way that I can. And yeah, like I said, I would love to be able to turn around and give my buddy and his organization everything that they need to never have to worry again.
That's awesome.
About making it to art shows and stuff. And the reason I say that is because Robert, told me one time, we were sitting around and having deep philosophical conversations in the middle of fucking Afghanistan, as one does when you're on post, right? And he was like, he's like, why are you here, Doc? And I was like, because I'm making my rounds. And he's like, no, like, why are you here in Afghanistan? And I'm like, because this is where I got orders to. Like, I don't understand the question, bro. Like, what are you trying to get out of me?
Like, break it down Barney style, bro. Like, let's go.
Yeah, like I'm like, I feel there's an underlying meaning behind your questioning. And like, I've been up for 36 hours and I'm just not picking it up, bro. Like, break it down. And he's like, what caused you, like, what's your driving purpose to be where you're at currently in life that has led you to be in Afghanistan and be out here in the middle of fucking nowhere talking to me at 2:30 in the morning? You know what I mean? And I was like, dude, I don't know. And I was like, you know, I couldn't take anything serious. So I had to make a joke out of it. I was like, probably the college money, you know, like something dumb was my response. And I'll never forget, he took a long drag off of his cigarette and stood there for a second and then like kind of blew it up and over our heads. And he was like, my job is to make the people's lives that are in my life so good that the slightest inconvenience absolutely ruins their day. And I was like, what? Like, I did not process it initially. And he's like, I want the people in my life to have it so good, like that they never have to worry about things. They never have to, be concerned with trivial things. That like, if we went out to dinner and they asked for no pickles on their hamburger and the waiter brought them a hamburger and it had pickles on it by accident, the simple act of them having pickles on their hamburger would cause them to have just a complete breakdown and like start crying at the table. And I was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, have you been smoking the Afghani reefer that we got around here, bro? Like, you have lost me. And he was like, no, bro. He's like, think about it. He's like, if the simple act of having pickles on your sandwich when you asked not to have pickles is the absolute worst part of your day, and that's the thing that absolutely just derails your entire existence, you got it pretty good. And I was like, fuck. Like, I'm sitting there thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then like I get sucked into these conversations with him, and I'm like, bro, I got other posts. I gotta go. Like, I can't get down this rabbit hole with you. Like, I gotta leave. And then I'd come back later, and he'd be like, still staring off into the desert. Hey, Doc, I got a question for you. I'm like, I don't have time for you, Robert. Like, I gotta go.
I don't think I have time for these kind of questions, bro.
Yeah, like I'm on 2 days of sleep, a Red Bull, and a dream right now. Like, I cannot devote that much brain power to the shit you're trying to put down on me. And so it was like, and that's always stuck with me, the fact that he said that. And like, we were in the absolute worst conditions imaginable, doing just shit job for shit pay in shit conditions. And his thought of the day was, if somebody got pickles on their sandwich, that would absolutely cause them to want to commit suicide. Like, I want to make their life that good.
That's seamless and well oiled.
I'm like, dude, yeah. And I'm like, dude. And so now, like, I think about that, and I'm like, I want to be that way. Like, the same thing he was trying to put down on me in Afghanistan. It took me almost a decade to fully grasp what he was trying to say, and now that's what I want to be. Like, I want to make the people around me who have supported me to this point, who have helped me in some fashion, who have remotely even offered a hand when I was down in low points or something like that. I want to make sure that they're freaking taken care of, and they don't ever have to worry about, dumb things. And if having a steady stream of Instagram money coming in to pay the bills helps me get him a moving van so we can move paintings back and forth across state lines, then that's what I'm doing it for.
That's awesome, dude. Now, honestly, bro, that's kind of the same motivations here. And I really want to plug it more and more and more. So how do we get a hold of Robert and the organization again? It's called bulletsandbandaids.org. And what is the process of donating? Are you guys actively receiving donations? Do you have more social media plugs and all that kind of stuff?
So anything that you want to know, you can actually go to the website. It's www.bulletsandbandaids.org, and it'll pull up the website. And we have information on there about if you want to tell a story because you're a veteran and you want to share your story. It's got information on how to get a hold of us to do that. We've got information if you're a writer and you want to contribute in that fashion. If you're an artist and you want to contribute, we've got all of that information is up there. It's got our mission statement up there so you can see like how and the history of the organization and like how it came about. It's all got spots on there where you can go and check it out. We have a store on there where we sell, branded t-shirts and stuff. You can actually get copies of previous iterations. The book that's created after the show are up there for purchase. We have last year's iteration, and then we have this year's iterations are up there. So you can get those and see what they're about and whatnot. If you want to contribute, like, to see kind of what the end result is of all of this stuff. And then I want to say there's a donations thing on there where if you want to donate things, like there's a link to that on the page, but I'm not entirely sure. I think they turn it off and turn it on for different things. But we are listed. So like you can, if you have like Amazon Smiles, whatnot, so you can actually have Amazon Smiles as like Bullets and Band-Aids as your organization that it kicks the change to. You can find us on Facebook and whatnot and do fundraisers for the organization through there, and it goes through. And if you want any other information, you can just email me and shoot me a message on my email. It's literally just doc@Bullets and Band-Aids.
Sweet.
So, and like I said, I can send you, after this, I can send you all the links if you wanted to link it up someplace or whatever.
Yeah, believe it or not, I actually do know how to do that.
Yeah, right?
No, I do.
Technology.
Yeah, believe it or not, this fucking technology shit's got us fucking beat.
Yeah.
No, I'll set up all that.
Bullets and Band-Aids and whatnot. I'll get you the email and stuff. And then, like I said, the website. And if you have questions about it, you can even shoot me a message on my regular stuff with the app at a Marine called Doc on Instagram or my Facebook. You can hit me up and message it, and I'll answer it there too. Like I said, I try to engage as much as possible because I'm one of those. Like I said, I'm one of those guys. Like if you're taking the time out of your day to message me for something, like, and you're not sending me some ridiculous Vine, or it's not one of the, like, you're very obviously not like a sex chat bot, like, I will get back to you. Like,
do you want to see my OnlyFans? No.
Yeah, like, hey, I saw your profile and you looked sexy. Like, okay, you're getting ignored, and like, I'm deleting your things. But like,
I mean, I would first say I don't disagree. I am a sex
yeah,
man.
right. Like, so, but anybody who needs to get a hold of me, like, if you go through my social media or you email me at doc@bulletsandbandaids.org, like, email address and whatnot, like, I 100% get back to everybody that I can.
That's
it might take me a day or two, but because I do have, contrary to popular belief, like, I do have a day job and stuff. So
yeah, manage those expectations, bro. That's the truth.
Yeah, I gotta manage expectations. Let them know, like, hey, I'm all about helping people and taking care of you. I'll answer any questions you got. But it's gonna take me a day or so. I'm like that general store in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? You know, I can get anything you need, but it's gonna take me about 2 weeks.
I love that reference so much.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'll answer any questions and do whatever, but it might take me a day or so. But
that's such a solid reference.
it's a good one. I use that on a daily.
Oh my God. All right, man. Well, let's wrap it up with some shout outs. You got any cool shout outs to get out? People you want to say thank you to, other than, of course, what we've heard so far, but even if you want to repeat them.
I mean, you know, obviously bulletsandbandaids.org, hit them up, show love. Myself, you know, I like to thank myself, and then myself again. No, I'm just kidding. My wife and kids, man, got to give them a shout out every time, because, you know, without them, I probably wouldn't be anywhere remotely close to where I am in life and stuff. They kind of keep me on a even keel, and, you know, the typical, my parents and stuff, they got me here too. So family's always first. So always them, unless it's talking about Bullets and Band-Aids, and then Bullets and Band-Aids first, and then family's a very close second.
Solid, dude. So solid.
That's it.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, folks. We're going to have Shawn Dickens again, a Marine called Doc. I guarantee you we're going to be hearing more from him time and time again. We're going to have to split this episode up quite a bit. So give us some time. I know you're probably already listened to it since you're hearing this part. So I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening to the Devil Doc Talk Show. We'd like to say thank you to Shawn Dickens for coming on, a Marine called Doc. Bulletsandbandaids.org. Make sure you guys give that a check out. And as always, make sure you check out our shit. You know, platemusclerelief.com, podomatic.com. All right, check out the Devil Doc Talk Show. We're on all your major platforms. And since you are listening, you clearly know that. So listen, like, and share. And we'll see you guys on the flip side. All right, so Shawn, that is the show. Thank you so much for your time, man. Again, from one corpsman to another, I understand heavily, the burdens that we go through and carry, and try to be quiet about it, shutting the fuck up and just doing our job. But it's one of those things that I find powerful messages, and I like carrying those messages forward. So if you ever need any help, guidance and stuff like that, mentorship on audio production and shit like that, hit me up, dude. I like what you got going on. I'd like to talk more about helping, of course, on the production side of anything audio. So if you need help, just let me know. We'll circle back. I hate that saying, but that's the truest thing that's true on it. We'll come back to it for sure on another show, or of course, either via email, messages. Doors wide open, phones wide open for you. If you guys ever need any support for a project coming up, a promotion, or we should say marketing, what do they call that shit? Package, fucking press kits, whatever the fuck you got going on. And then on that note, if you do have any questions as far as like, hey, spoken word stuff, reading things out, like, hey, how long should it be? What should it be? What's the deliverables? Sounds like you pretty much know the ins and outs on that basic stuff. But if it's just a little trickery stuff on splicing or making the edits a bit smoother, equalization, I don't mind helping you out on whatever you need, bro. Like that's kind of my bread and butter. I very much enjoy just audio engineering, and then podcasting kind of became it. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Yeah. And if you need anybody or anything like that, hit me up. Like, you need to come on and BS again, or we can talk about heavy shit or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, bro. That sounds dope.
I'm down. I'm down for whatever. Like, this one was you're kind of lighthearted and goofy this time, but if you want to dig into stuff or something like that, like, I'm down.
I like introducing guests with both the levity and a bit of darkness, and then jumping in on which way it develops. Like, I'd really love to talk to you more about, that transition, coming off of such a loss and heavy-hearted loss. Of course, I just don't want to leave you on those fucking bricks right now. You know what I mean?
No, you're good.
The same thing for me, man. I process things slowly, and it takes a bit of energy, takes time out of myself as well. But the same thing for your brother Robert. Like, if you guys want to come on and literally explicitly talk about bullets and band-aids and do a whole hour and a half on that. So the way I produce is I find people that I like, stories that I like personally, the things that strike a chord, and then I introduce it to listeners. Listeners go yay or nay, which is always a yay, because I know what the fuck they want. That's the secret. Learn what the fuck people want and give it to them. Give it more, and then give them what they need as you're giving them what they want, and then they get both, and then they go, holy fuck, I really like that. And you're like, yeah, you did. You fucking liked that, didn't you? Like, it comes into like this whole full circle of both comedy and levity, but also wisdom, because, honestly, me being where I was at multiple times, right? Like, I'm about to make poor decisions, right? Negative stuff, suicide stuff, all the PTSD crap. This has been the one thing is my constant is I create things that not only help myself, but help others, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of the others, right? That's something that was a hard lesson learned when I was, being a corpsman, was if I don't change my socks right now, I won't be able to help anybody else. We're whatever metaphorical concept that is, or pain or anguish or, disability limitation, that pair of socks, right? That's what I mean. And I love keeping it a little bit simpler because it's just more deliverable. People like knowing that, of course, Marines are more intelligent than they are, but they also like hearing about how many crayons we've eaten, like all that shit.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I love it, bro. Hit me up. The show will be going out. Let me check my schedule real quick. Okay. So we got like 5 shows on deck. I'm going to have to split this up to probably like 2 or 3 shows. And then we could revisit that time frame, whatever else, bullets and band-aids, throughout the months and year. I'm always available. We record Monday, Wednesdays. Sometimes I fit Tuesdays in, like today, because I had a little bit of space available. But anything like that, bro, more than happy to help. And if you ever come out to California, it'd be nice to fucking hang out, meet face to face, take you out to the big studio here with Dust Bennett and DBU Ranch. I love it. He's fucking remarkable. This dude's been in like audio engineering for 30 plus years. Grammy Award winning with Rod Stewart and Fiona Apple and shit like that. And
Nice.
yeah, like, I mean, it's literally like people go, why do you promote it so much? I'm like, because have you ever fucked around and found out how amazing somebody else is sometimes? Like, I do that on the daily. And I went to his house, bro, and he had like, I helped him put up a plate reverb with Telefunken amplifiers, tube amplifiers. Like, we've recorded on $35,000, $40,000 fucking microphones from the 60s. Like, it's so crazy. Like, people go, oh, you're just gleaming the cube. You're just like, you know, talking about what you got. I'm like, bitch, I ain't got shit. I got a SM48, okay? And I'm doing okay. Like, your Rodecaster costs more than my SSL, okay? So I'm like, look, I'm all about pinching pennies, but if all I have to focus is on the audio, homie, this is my wrestling match. Like, I grew up wrestling. This is my mat. You know, this is how I do it. You're going to get thrown for 5, okay, Holmes? Like, it's not good to do this against the wrong things, because when you're literally worried about dimes over dollars, like I have been in my life, like you were saying, like you were worried about being homeless. I went through that, right? Like fucking months homeless, living on couches, you know, all that shit, just trying to make it work, going through bankruptcies and horrible stuff, attempted suicides. And I tell people, like, hey, through all of that shit, what I found out is like what you said too, nobody gives a fuck. All right. But also people give a fuck. You just got to find the people that give a fuck and then sell the people that don't give a fuck that it's more valuable to give a fuck. And then they'll start giving a fuck. And you'll be so surprised how many fucks you get. You know what I mean? So like at the end of the day, that's the reason, that's the show. You know, that's what we do. Always open mic. If you have an idea you want to shoot across the bow, I can help you out, produce some stuff. You know, anything, bro.
No, what I'll do is I'll shoot an email to Robert and I'll CC you in it and just let him know, like, hey, this dude does podcast if you want to talk about bullets and band-aids and stuff. And maybe you guys can link up and set up a time or something like that. Because I'm sure he will talk about it all day. Like he's done quite a few, so
that's good. I'm down for that.
He would be more than happy to, especially if it's about the organization and stuff. He'll drop. I'm going to tell you right now.
I'll keep it center focused on the organization first. Introduce him a bit, center focus on the organization, and then have him back on. You know, like how we talked. You know, primarily a little bit about yourself, a little bit about history, your transition. I keep it very platonic at first. That way, more or less, I'm feeling everything out. Are you stable? Do you have a good support system? You know, do I have to play more doc than doc talk? You know, I'm really trying to focus on podcasting, not, hey, you know, what's going on with this person's world? You know what I mean?
I'm not trying to be your psychiatrist on here, but
yeah, like I'll play the part a little bit. You know what I mean?
So if you have time on YouTube, if you search for Robert LeHoop TED Talk, it's LEHEUP.
Okay, hold on. You're gonna say that again, Robert. One more time.
LEHEUP.
LeHoop. Okay, TED Talk.
Yeah, TED Talk. And I think it's in TED Talk. It might have it where it says like Columbia, South Carolina, because that's where he's based out of. But he did a TED Talk about transitioning out of the things and whatnot. And like, it's watching it, it'll give you kind of a sense of like what this dude's about. And it's pretty powerful, like the stuff he talks about. Like,
yeah, it was the first one that popped up 10 years ago. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Should be like a pretty built dude with glasses.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like the dude that talks about aliens all the time. That was the first impression I got right now.
Yeah. It should be something about like a walk in the snow or something like that. Is like the thing. But he talks about going on patrol in the snow and stuff and how it changed him and stuff. It's pretty powerful stuff.
That is so dope. I'm ripping right now, dude. After 3 hours of this shit, my back is like, hey, bud, what was you doing?
Yeah. Probably lay down before you hurt yourself more. Like,
yeah. No, that's the hemorrhoids. The hemorrhoids are going, hey, boss. When are you gonna start finger popping your asshole with that emerald juice? I think about 45 minutes after a couple beers. I like to have a couple beers before I touch my butthole. I'm old school Navy. I don't just run into it full ass naked, lubed up.
I just back into every room I go into.
Right? It's like, hey, I remember being a kid, spreading butter all over my butt cheeks, running backwards through a cornfield. You ain't gonna get me confused. I know the Navy.
Anyways, let me let you go, bro.
All right then, bro. Hey, thanks.
Pretending like I'm working.
Yeah, no, you did a great job because you got paid for the last 3 hours.
Yeah, right.
Oh man. All right then, Shawn, thanks again for your time, dude. Love the conversation. Much love to you and yours. And like I said, always open house here. You got my number. You got my email. Let's shoot that email over, CC me. And then we'll set some more shit up, bro.
Yeah, man. Like I said, hit me up whenever. So
you got it.
Internet. Yeah, hello. Right, så sen idag hörs när man får gå men den är så jag finner mig kapsen och det är bestämt att jag ska bara shit.
Well, I need to sit.